I'm fighting it. I'm going to wait for the beat to drop. 2023. Hey, here it comes and... Hey! Spill Your Guts podcast with Rachel and Mandi. Ooh, it feels good to hear that little jangle.
You got that jangle?
Is that jangle, girl? Ooh, we're back. Season 2, back at it again. What the hell are we doing, bud?
Who knows? I don't even know.
I felt good to hear our little song just then. We're like really doing this thing again. It's a thing.
I know. We were just telling Jesse this is our favorite form of therapy.
Absolutely. This is the cheapest form of therapy I've ever had, Jesse.
And with 2 months off.
Shut up, Patty Bandwagon, for your therapy needs.
We were talking about not selling things. And with 2 months off, you did the intro exactly how you did 2 months ago.
That's because I am muy authentico.
You're natural.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, we're back. Listen, we have lots of things that we've added to our shared topics.
I don't even know where to start.
Hit me with one of those ones you just shared with me. What was that? What was that first one?
We've got everything from sleep to hormones to social media to saying no to capitalism to chakras.
Yeah, but what was that one you just said right before we started?
Oh, one of my ideas.
Yeah, come on. That first one.
What happened to glamour shots?
What happened to glamour shots? This is what is the most important thing we've been doing in our off time. Okay.
Solve the mystery.
Yeah. So I have a very strange feeling that there's going to be a glamour shot photo shoot sometime in my future because Rachel always bullies me into doing shit I don't want to do.
We're going to call up Asia.
Yes, you guys will get to meet Asia, I hope, this season. She's a world-class photographer for Lace Photography. If you follow her on Instagram, a little shout out there. Look at that, Asia. Shout out in the first episode. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Sweet.
Rachel Dawn, tell me stuff. How is your 2023 going so far? If you could tell me in one word, your word for 2023 was what?
Magnet.
And do you see the energy of that word that you chose already manifesting? And if so, how? No pressure. Big question. Here we go.
I would say I'm in like the prep phase to become the magnet.
Ooh.
I'm still, and maybe this is part of it, like I'm still like closing chapters, locking down to commitments that I made to myself, working on my spiritual practice. I feel like I feel like I'm closing the door to prepare to attract new things. And that's one of the reasons I actually like this word is because I was putting off all this like excavation and ends because it never feels good. But as a result, if all that stuff is hanging around, I can't bring in and attract the new stuff.
Yeah, there's no room.
Like I'm still kind of closing those doors right now, and it's super uncomfortable. But the more I do it, the easier it gets, to the point where I'm like, is this now too easy? Where I'm literally just like, no. And that's my answer.
I love it.
I'm just saying no with no, and just like, and then like shutting the door without like going into a million reasons why.
Dude. You know what? I am so glad you said that because right before we started recording, of course, we had to debrief because we haven't been with each other. We had to catch up with Jesse. Hi, Jesse. And I had just shared with you that I learned that oversharing and over-explaining is actually kind of self-abusive. It's like a way that we abandon ourselves and give our power away. And so I am really inspired to hear you say that saying no is just becoming like second nature, no explanation, that good girl programming that we talk about.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're sort of decoding that from your lifestyle?
I really am. And it, like I said, it's some of it's still uncomfortable, but for the most part, like I said, it's getting easier. And it's bringing me and keeping me aligned with fucking peace. And all I'm trying to do is focus on the people, place, and things that matter most, like my inner circle. And I can't get out here and start swirling, or it's just not going to happen. I already know. I've been doing it for, most of my life. I'm an expert in it.
Yeah, we've seen that movie.
I want to become an expert in this, in saying no.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap. First episode's over. Good job, everyone. So how were your holidays and everything as you've been working on this throughout our little podcast break and through the new year? How were your holidays? This is our update episode, our welcome back episode, everybody. Just so you know, we're just catching up. So if you don't care, then you should. You might miss a good couple of inside jokes if you don't listen. So don't go anywhere.
Holidays were in line with that theme. They were calm. I was supposed to head out of state to see the person that I'm dating, but Southwest
Southwest
had a chaotic time. So that got moved around. But as a result, I had a solid week that I'd already taken off with no plans, nowhere to be, nothing to do. And I just slept in. I went on hikes. I went to the gym. I ate good food. I spent time with my family. And then kind of like just prepared for January, which is when we had our challenge and our Las Vegas trip for our fundraiser, and got to meet new friends and see new people and try to stay grounded in Vegas, which is always hard.
Super hard.
But it's funny because, like, out of all the activities that we did as a group, my favorite thing was the night that we stayed in and just played board games and had some cocktails and listened to music and like that. I'm 40.
It sounds like magical time to me.
It is so good. There was some couple hard things over the holidays. I was just updating that kind of not, thank goodness, not that it's still not so hard, but like not in my immediate circle, but a shocking number of people that I know, that they know, that like the 6 degrees of separation knows, had like some really hard holidays, like really difficult mental health, a lot of suicides. And I just like kind of hyper fixated on some of that for a long time because that is a hard concept for me to understand that, like, how does this happen? Like, how do we get here where like the number one cause of death for people 18 to 35 or 25, 24 is second to school shootings, but that's another topic, is suicide.
Wow.
And so that's really heavy with me, especially for our January challenge, which was to one of the things that it benefits is Andy's fund, who he also was someone that it ended up taking his own life. So that was also kind of weighing on my mind, which also made me more committed to quieting some of the noise and really focusing on myself.
Yeah. No, we were talking about how particularly difficult the holidays felt this year.
They were so hard for people.
Yeah. And I know we talk about this a lot because it's like, is this real or is the world burning? Like, what's going on? But it's like, you think about like what the world, everybody talks about this now. Like everybody of a certain age is, and until the day we die, we will all talk about what the world was like 2019 and before, and then what the world was like after. Right. And we will always be, I feel like we as like a generation, we will always be like encapsulated is the actual word. Sorry, everyone. In this like weird in between of like before and after, and like always sort of trying to like find our footing in this after. And so you ask yourself, like, is this getting harder as it seems, right? Like I was telling you guys before we started, like my husband put me on a full on like deleted TikTok off my phone. Like I am on a TikTok break right now that I have no control over because I was getting sort of like carried away with the fear of so many things. In the name of wanting to be informed and not wanting to be ignorant about, I don't want to like marinate in an echo chamber about politics or current events or things, but I want to know what's going on so that I am not ignorant, but using that as like an excuse to like just scroll into a spiral of like despair. Not cool. And so you wonder, like, are things really this hard and this like hopeless? Or are we all so absolutely fatigued emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, socially, like name it. Are we fatigued in all the things because we have just still not processed and been given the chance to process the pandemic and everything that's happened since then? Or is it all of it? I don't know.
I think it's so bad. I think where everyone's feeling it, it's like, I call it like the squeeze, especially in the financial area. Gaps keep getting larger. People don't have the wages to just survive. And so they're working on these jobs, they're burnt out, and they're realizing that this is their life. This is their future. Like, this is what it is now. Like, all we do is work, and hopefully we have enough money to just feed ourselves and get through our day, to like feed this machine. And then that's it.
And don't you feel like collectively, like no matter where you land, spiritually, socially, politically, all those things, it's like everybody feels this way. But like, and right in this age of information where we can really share, I mean, there's a lot of bullshit on social media, right? Like we know there's bullshit, but there's also such good content. Like I have learned really good, important things that I would not know about if it weren't for social media and the time people take to educate people on their cultures and heritages and, you know, things that I would never encounter personally because of my own privilege that I enjoy, right? Like things like that. Like you just like social media is invaluable, right? Like we literally have like the world of information at our fingertips, but then also, right? What is the result of that? Like how much of that energetically can a person hold in their vessel? And then we start to, we can't. So then we numb and we do all the things. And it's weird because the more information we're learning, right? We're learning about all kinds of people who would never go to therapy or learn anything about like generational trauma, or like these are becoming everyday conversations now. Like people who I wouldn't even believe are like really digging into like healing their trauma and talking about this stuff. And like, this is our, like in the retreat and wellness fitness space, this is like what we are all about. And it's exciting to see so many people getting excited about it. But to your point, Rachel, how do you learn all this stuff about your interpersonal life, relationships, family, and then have to go participate in it in a larger scale out in society? Like, if you don't feel like we're getting gaslit every day at work, like it's an abusive relationship, goddammit, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm confident that nobody that I work for listens to this shit, so I'm fine. But it's real. It's gaslighting. Like I'm supposed to get pumped that we're having record-breaking profit months when literally nobody who's really, truly like breaking their body to make it happen is benefiting from it at all. Wild. That's wild. And we're all aware now of what gaslighting is. We're all aware now of trauma and toxic environments. And like, so I think people have lost their willingness to show up and play this game. Like, how many people have you heard like be like, I don't want to be anybody. I want to just have my job and have enough to pay my bills and be left alone. Like people don't care about being successful anymore. What the world says is successful. And we talk about that all the time here.
Oh yeah. I can't remember you and I, when we were chatting the other day, I was curious to know like when enough, which I think we've reached this capacity, but like when enough people like come online and wake up and feel this way, like then what happens? Like right now we're not doing anything. I think
people are still waking up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why my personal commitment is I'm trying to like, you know, like do it for myself and hopefully like others. Cause the other thing is like, and this is, I'm always this way. And I don't know if this is right or wrong, but like, sometimes I'm like, I'm doing all this work, but like, it doesn't matter if we're not all doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like fine, good for me, but like my vision for the world can't happen unless we all get the fuck on board. And I don't have any answers like with this one, which is why it's really hard. I'm glad we have social and we can use it as a tool and learn from each other, and like it sparks conversations and we find good books and shit. Like we find partners, like the person I'm dating, like that's how we met. But there's just this whole other side where it can
start to feel like hopeless.
Out.
Yeah, you could start to feel like hope. Like, what's the point? And that, I think, is what they call, it's like the joke, right? Like in this spirituality community we're in, waking up is kind of like, what are the dark night of the soul?
Yeah.
Like freak out. Like it's not joyful, right? When you become like aware, you're like, wow, this is great. Cool. Thanks. Cool. Nothing matters. Great. Thanks.
And like this chronic stress, and like I think a lot of people are actually like grieving.
100%.
Like they're waking up and then they're in grief because they're like, oh, this is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Like people are realizing that the whole chasing purpose, chasing success, chasing like your value in a title somewhere, or it's kind of a ripoff.
Yeah.
It's bullshit because like
do that.
Even the people who we see who are successful, as we record this, it is in early February. I don't know when it will air, but we just had the Grammys over the weekend.
Oh, that was weird.
And it was weird because we are no longer like in that timeline anymore, right? Like where we kind of like worship celebrity. And so we're kind of like seeing through all the like theater of it. And it's interesting. Like those of us who kind of like are aware of the before and after. Right? Like there was a way the world was before. And I'm the biggest Beyonce fan there is. Or used to, right? But now it's just, it feels different. And I'm thinking to myself, what do these people have to say in their song lyrics, in their poems, in their performances, which are amazing, right? Like I'm no shade to these artists, but like what are they putting out into the world that is more valuable than all of the billions of other people who are also in a human meat vessel having a lifetime of their own heartbreaks and tragedies and experiences and feel like they can't share it because who are they? Somebody very special to me shared with me the other day that a penny that you find on the ground, like to your point about like doing your work doesn't matter because if everybody's not doing it, then why should we, right? So she said that, you know, if you find a penny on the ground, it's just a penny. It's like 1 cent. It's literally like worthless. Wasn't there like a whole like Kevin Federline petition to get rid of the penny? Anyway, did you guys miss my ADHD or what?
I do not have time to verify all these stats.
Okay. Well, okay. Edit that out then.
No, this is staying in.
But like a penny is a penny, right? But if you had 1 million pennies, you wouldn't throw that away. That's worth something. I can't do the math on that, but like that's some money there. So that's like, you know, so enter in my word for the year that I chose, which I was pissed about. I'm still actually extra pissed about it now that we're on the other side. But the word I chose for 2023 was faith. So I feel like what I've gone and fucking done is invited myself to keep having these experiences that require me to choose faith when I have seen evidence that would, you know, feel like things are hopeless. Right. Mm-hmm. So I keep kind of like what you were saying about the holidays just being really hard. Like we watched some people really struggle through some stuff, and you turn on any kind of news, any social media, anywhere, it's all bad news, and it's hard to have faith. And so these conversations matter, and what we and you guys, anybody who's listening out there, like what you're doing matters. It really does. It's like the 1 penny that you feel is worthless in a pile of gold, bitches. Okay. I did want to share something with you guys. You look like you're about ready to press a button and shut me off.
You know, I've been ready to hit the button a couple times, and it does get you to stop. So stop watching me.
It's a threatening button. Well, okay, so hang with me on this, though. I wanted to share. So on Netflix, there is a documentary that Mikey and I just watched over the weekend called Mind Over Murder. Super random. He was just like, oh, this looks interesting. He's been like on a documentary kick. Like I came downstairs the other day and he was watching that one about the guy at the gas station with the hatchet. Do you guys remember that? The like surfer hatchet guy?
Wham, wham, wham.
Yeah. He like watched that whole doc.
I watched that on the first day it came out.
Yeah. So dudes are weird also.
Yes,
Because
we
I was
are.
like, no thanks.
I got your back, Mike.
I'll be upstairs listening to Beyonce. It's fine. But he's been on this super documentary kick. So we watched this documentary called Mind Over Murder. Okay, follow me for a second. This documentary was about a murder that took place, I think in the late 80s in Nebraska, in a city called Beatrice, Nebraska, which I spent almost the entire time bumming out because they were pronouncing Beatrice as Beatrice. And then I was like, wait, am I living in an alternate universe? Like, have I been saying Beatrice wrong this whole time? Has it been Beatrice? Do I know anybody actually named Beatrice that it would matter? Anyway, so this lady, she was like an older lady, like a grandma. She suffered this like terrible, like a crime. Somebody broke into her home and she was raped and they took her life and it was terrible. And it was in this very, very small town, which like shook their whole community. Okay. And I'm so sorry. Trigger warning should be applied here because I didn't know I was going to like really talk about this in detail. But the whole documentary basically was about how these 6 people ended up being implicated and like charged and served time for this crime. And they found out like 20 years later that all of them were actually innocent. Okay. And it's pretty wild. It's on Netflix. If anybody wants to watch it, it's very interesting. It's like 4 or 5 episodes. But the reason I'm sharing on this podcast is because I had a download while I was watching this. So we're watching this and kind of periodically throughout the documentary, they kind of cut over to this other group of people who are like this community theater group in good old modern day Beatrice, Nebraska. Okay. And they keep cutting over to this theater group who is going to perform a play based on this murder that happened.
Jesus.
Like in the town. And people are pissed. Like, how dare you? This is disrespectful. I mean, they got all this hate, right? And then they would go back and dig back into the actual story. And then every now and then they'd like come back over and kind of highlight you on the like theater production. And every time they'd pop up, I'd be like, oh, this is so lame. Like, oh, leave it to theater people. You know, just being just like an asshole, right? Like, this has nothing to do with the story. So we get through the whole thing. And you have to know that the lady, the murder victim's family was very upset when they were told that all these people were basically exonerated and like let free. And so they were left like feeling ripped off, that there was no justice served for their grandma, and that it became all about these people and their innocence, and what happened to their family member got lost, and they were very upset. I mean, obviously. And so they were so upset. But a couple of them chose to go to the opening night. There was only 2 performances of this play, and a couple of the family members went to the play. I think they went to like kind of start shit, which I could get behind, you know? And so at the very end of this documentary, they end up like kind of sharing. The ending of this documentary was these people performing this play for their community. And the intention of performing the play was to like give a voice to like all sides of the story, because everybody in that town had become so volatile towards all of the people who had been released. And, you know, it had become this small town, like super deep scandal, whatever. So they performed the play and they showed this one specific, like the eldest grandson of this family, him and his wife went. And at the end of the play, the man had completely his mind blown, his heart softened. He was completely able to see all these 6 people who had served time, like majority of their young lives in prison for a crime they didn't do. And he got to start to see them as human and was able to like soften enough to like see the humanity in the whole story. And he's like crying and emotional. And his wife, they kind of like interview her on the side. And she's like, yeah, I've felt this way for a long time, but I could never tell him. And like, but like you see them immediately, the intimacy between them, because she was able to finally talk to him on a level that he was not available to like meet her at yet. And you see him like trying to explain to his other family members who are mad at him that like, no, like this helped me see things in a different light and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I'm like, oh no, oh no, I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm having a download. Oh my God, no. Can't I just watch Netflix and be left alone? Because I'm like, isn't that how it goes? Isn't that the fuck how it goes? Mm-hmm. You start to find your way into some freedom and get set free from some shit. And here comes the old fucking, the old thing. I don't know. Like the old way of thinking, like the old family members who don't want to let go of their thing because their ego, like get mad at you and reject you and kick you out of the tribe. Yeah. And this guy had to stand in his truth and be like, blah, blah, blah. And then here it comes. I hear in my little universe ear, art. Make the art. Mm-hmm. If those little Nebraska thespians hadn't committed, I know it's silly, but it's not. It was very powerful because it's like, if they had not committed to doing this thing, if they didn't believe in telling this story and performing it in this way, if for only that one man who deserved the healing, and he could only receive it through art being expressed from an authentic place, then that is enough, people. That right there is enough to get out and do the things you're supposed to do without certificates, without credentials, without experience, without XYZ business plan, without XYZ materials to sell or whatever, like whatever that is. And I'm speaking to myself, whatever you feel you're inadequate in and you cannot, you're like, can't share or can't do or can't whatever, do it. Because you don't know. Like here, this ripple effect, these people in Nebraska, I don't even know when they did this. I can't even tell you when this was made. But here I am sitting in 2023, pissed, Reno, Nevada, with my little faith word of the year hanging over my head, pissing me off every day, being reminded that it doesn't matter. Like here I am as completely somebody who would never have known that this story ever happened, seeing what can happen when people show up and they express themselves authentically. It totally inspired me. So anyway, watch more murder mystery documentaries, I guess. Oh my God. Did you guys miss me or what? I'm so sorry.
I did.
Maybe I'll let you guys talk next time, huh?
I love that. That is faith. And that is also like, I stopped myself because I'm working on peace, but I get angry sometimes and I want to yell at people in person and on social.
I say do it. I say that's peaceful. It's fighting for peace.
To go out and like live in real life. I don't know how else to put it, but we have to collectively. Like if we don't, the consequences are right here happening right now.
Yes.
People don't feel good. People
aren't
tapping into art and moving their bodies.
No.
Like this is where we are.
Where your feet are, like you always say.
Yeah. And a big solution is going like we're doing the inner work and now we've got to go the fuck out.
Yeah, we got to feel
each other.
We have to express, we have to stop numbing, we have to stop ignoring, we have to stop scrolling, striving. Like I hear you. It's like if your motivation to go out and do is to prepare for something like later, then that's always going to feel empty. There's never enough. It's a thirst that's never quenched, which is why I work at a factory. You know, I just don't want to quench that thirst no more. But our favorite guy on Instagram, he's super random. What's it? Feel Good Phil?
Phil.
Is that his handle? We're gonna have to shout him out for real. He shared a post a couple of weeks ago that I shared with you, Rachel, that's like reminded me of how you always remind me of this. But he said that I think that God's love only exists in the now moment, and that anytime we venture into the past or the future is work that we should do, but only with the intention of bettering our now moment. So if we're like in some past feelings and working through like stuff in our past, it should be for the intention of bettering our now moment and not get stuck there. And if we're spending our time like really focusing on the future and building something, it should only like be stuff that gets you excited about what you're feeling right now in this moment. It's right now. Right now is it. This is all we ever have. And so if that's true, then I cannot waste however long I have in this right now moment being scared to death that California is about to fall off the earth and fall into the ocean, and that climate change. I mean, all this, it's all happening. We can't stop it. But like, if I only have however long I have, then it can't just be in fear. Gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith. We gotta be a magnet and attract all that shit.
Damn it. Put it on a shirt.
I'll probably, maybe this is probably for next episode, but like I don't know why or how. I think it's because I am consciously not spending so much time on my phone, but I'm reading again and writing. And not only that, but I'm like buying actual books.
Yes.
Which is just like, I don't know what. It's just, I feel like my brain is suddenly like turned back on again.
You're human again.
Yeah. Yes. And even just like the like feel of turning pages in my hands. Like, I'm like, what is happening here?
Dude, that's
like,
wild.
What have I been doing? But I deep dove into this study. It was a 9 decade. So it was like an 85, 90 year study. The first of its kind. It even like some scientists had died in the process, and younger scientists like carried on this study of humans, of what actually creates health and happiness. I can it got put on I saw it originally on a podcast, and then I like, of course, like when actually like read the study.
Right.
But the number one most influential factor over anything on like human longevity and health and happiness, take a guess. What do you think it was? Beat everything else.
Sleep.
Hands down. Really good guess. Really good guess. Because that was the other book that you and I read that we need to talk about.
Oh, we got to talk about it.
Freaking out about
We're
that.
fucked.
Yeah, we're all dead. I'm sorry.
Jesse, do you have a guess? Do you have a guess on what it might be?
What was the principle of this question? The last sentence?
The most influential factor on human health and longevity and happiness, like those 3 things.
And it's not sleep?
I know. That's wow.
Oh,
It's water.
What is it? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. What is it?
the quality of our relationship. That nothing
That's way
else-
too deep.
No, but listen.
I get it.
We will talk more about this, but man, it really is everything, isn't it? That's
Nothing
crazy that
else
came out of a
touch
study.
it. Yeah, an 85-year, it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. It was a massive study. It was the quality of our relationships with ourselves and with other people. Nothing else could touch it. Not diet, not exercise.
Dude, wow.
It blew everything else out of the water.
So to bring it full circle with what we started with in the episode, it's kind of interesting because as we learn more about ourselves and we learn all how to take better care of ourselves, and we all start to really embrace that we are actually worthy and valuable enough to take care of ourselves and love ourselves. And that's not conceited or weird or selfish, right? Like we're all on this healing journey together. The more we recognize our narcissistic, gaslighty relationships, like our jobs. And like, that's interesting because I have found that in the workplace, like observing this whole thing happening, the very thing that is most upsetting, obviously you think pay, right? Or quality of, in your environment. It's not. It's relationships, what you just said. It's people feeling like they're not seen, people feeling like they're not valued as a human. They're disposable, they're replaceable, they're nothing, they're, worker peasants. They feel gaslit. Like, how can you tell us we're so important and then treat us so bad? And that is being exposed in our one-on-one relationships. It's being exposed in churches, in organizations, and people are getting called out. It's wild. What a time to be alive. Well, we're definitely going to have to talk about that more.
It's a big one.
Oh my God. So we're like coming in hot in 2023. Well, welcome back, bitch.
Hey, before you wrap this up, I do have one question.
Uh-oh.
And it was based on what you said earlier.
Okay.
You were watching the Grammys.
Yeah.
Who was the musical artist you talked about in season 1 that you listened to?
My boy. My boy Harry
Styles?
Yeah.
Harry Styles?
Is there any other?
So I'm not as familiar with Harry Styles as you are. Did he win a Grammy?
He won Album of the Year.
I set that up and didn't even know.
Yes, he did. And you know what? It's very controversial, actually. It's like a whole thing where people are like, he didn't deserve it. It was a big upset. But
I'll look it up for the next time we record.
And this is coming from a major Beyonce fan who actually loved her album she put out too. But Harry deserved it, dude. It was a good album. Pop Magic.
I didn't watch him or anything, but the only highlight I saw, which actually hit me for a minute, was because people were booing or saying no when Harry went up there, but Taylor Swift stood fucking there because she has been in his position.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I was like, that's what we need at this show. This is what this actually should be.
Yeah.
Not whatever it was.
But that's
I thought that was a really powerful moment.
Well, because she's authentic, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. It was uncomfortable, especially as somebody who loves Beyonce. I'm not trying to throw her. It doesn't matter, right? Also, Beyonce won't listen to this. Janet Jackson, though, I'm still holding out for you. The freaking goat. Anyway, but it goes back to these old ways are being exposed, right? You don't get to boo somebody who won something fair and square because you don't think he ought to. This is why we live in wild times, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening and coming back. We hope you stick around. You're stuck with us for at least another season. See you next week.
Bye.